All right, welcome everyone to the next episode on SAP ABAP on Cloud SAP RESTful ABAP Programming Model Training. In today's episode, we will talk about the concept of RESTful ABAP Programming Model. In the last episode, we discussed about the concepts of CDS views. We talked about the basic terminologies of CDS views, interface views, consumption views, and composite views of type basic views. We also discussed about varieties of SQL script blocks which you can create, be it a procedure block using MDP or be it a functional block using CDS table function. In today's episode, we will go ahead and see how and we can implement a basic RESTful programming model with the efficient architecture of end-to-end development in ABAP on cloud. So let's get started and first understand what is RESTful ABAP programming model. In the last class, we also talked about the data model we will be using throughout our course, which is the flight data model enabled by SAP for us to be used directly. These tables is part of our views, is part of our programs. SAP has enabled these tables, so we'll be using the same. Also, guys, the good news I was able to resolve the error of launching the service directly. So if you go back to our examples, we had an option to launch, we were facing an issue to launch our service. So this was our service which we created, ZATS00 service binding sales, and we were facing an issue to launch this service directly. So here I was right clicking, or I just clicking and double clicking, or maybe clicking this URL to launch the service. And now guys, that issue is resolved. When I click, you can see it's already launching on the browser actually. Yeah, so that's the issue which was now resolved, guys. You can see here it's directly asking me credentials to enter, and now I am able to log in and take you through the service directly. So what did I do? How did I fix this issue? It was just a small change in the settings of Eclipse which has made this possible. So I went to Window, Preferences, and then I search here called Web Browser. So you see the web browser setting comes under General Settings, and in the web browser you choose this Use External Web Browser, and then choose here the Chrome Web Browser. That's the only setting which I changed, and I apply and close, and now wow, you just click on this and this is already launching now my OData service here in the Chrome browser. That's how I fixed the issue, which means now you can also do the preview of Fiori elements actually as part of Eclipse. This is also possible now at this point of time. Superb, guys. So let's get started our RESTful ABAP programming model. What is RESTful ABAP programming model, or so called RAP? So RESTful ABAP programming, or also known as RAP, RAP programming model. So why it is needed, what is the essence of it, and what are all the terminologies behind RAP? So the ABAP RESTful programming model defines the architecture for efficient end-to-end development of SAP HANA optimized OData services in SAP Cloud Platform. So what is it exactly? It's an architecture. RESTful ABAP programming model is an architecture. Why this architecture is important? Imagine there is a team of, let's say, 2 developers or 10 developers. In this team of developers, there are different developers who come from different country, different background, different regions, right? Different educational background, different expertise. There are so many developers as part of this team, and they all are working with different years of experience, different expertise. But more or less what is in common between them is they all belongs to ABAP development environment. So they all are ABAPers actually. Now these developers who are working in a team, they come from ABAP background, some come from different countries, different regions. They have different expertise. Now when these developers want to develop a software, an ABAP application, they all have different understanding. So one person like to implement function module for a requirement, another person good in oops abap, so they will use classes, and another person will use simple report to develop such an abap program, right? And now within the program also you see a discrepancy. Some use loop at itab into work area, some use loop at itab assigning field symbol, some use loop at itab reference into. They are using different syntaxes and different programming techniques to implement the same requirement. Over a period of time, if it keeps happening over years and years, what you see, there is huge among a humongous amount of code in the system, and that code is written in such a way that one developer can't understand what other developer is writing, correct? Have you observed this, that sometimes when you write a code, your developer doesn't understand, or when you go and look at code of another developer, you don't understand because they have used some techniques which you are not familiar with. Did it happen with you? Please answer in chat window. Did it ever happen with you that at times you go back and check others code and you may not understand their code, or you may see, okay, it's a dirty coding they have done, there is no standard which they followed, sometimes according to you that code is just a waste, right? It happens. So that's where SAP addressed the problem, and now they introduced wrap, which says I will offer you a architecture to build efficient end-to-end application. So what is this architecture will allow? It will allow you to build application end to end. End to end means you can do all the insert, update, delete, read, all operations. Now the second benefit is SAP HANA Optimize. HANA Optimize means code to data paradigm. So you will achieve code to data paradigm automatically when you follow this architecture. Then also the OData based services, which means you can build at the end of the day an OData service, and this OData service either can be consumed as an external consumer, be it a Java application, .NET application, or this OData can be also consumed by a Fiori application. So this is the main and foremost benefit of using this so-called RESTful ABAP programming model or RESTful architecture to harmonize our development, so that you can tomorrow go and have a harmonized application across the globe, across the teams, across the developers. They all understand each other because we all following the same architecture. This is the main advantage, and you don't have to really worry about the performance pain points. System will take care of these things automatically because you are following this architecture, you're following the guidelines provided by SAP. As a result of that, system gives you the maximum performance out of it automatically. Now what are all the types of developments which are supported using this RESTful ABAP programming model? What exactly you are able to achieve? What is the USP? What will you achieve? You will be able to develop at the end of the day. End goal, what is the end goal of the development? You will be able to develop first RESTful services which can be consumed by outsiders. A to X services. A to X means application to cross application, which means an external programming language can call your application, or you can use this also to consume it within your own application. Suppose you want to build later on a Fiori app, you can consume within your own application. Okay, so second type of development, it also enables services to create Fiori applications. The main idea to follow this architecture is harmonization, best performance out of HANA using code to data paradigm, and optimized services which can run natively on cloud platform. Okay, so your application is now can be deployed in the cloud platform, and then it can also consume this OData service. Okay, now what is it based on? The whole architecture is based on First biggest thing is CDS view approach. So you will always believe, or you will always create something called CDS views. For creating this type of applications, there's always the base starts with CDS views. CDS views will help you to create semantically rich data model. This is the step number one. Then you define with something called business object. Business object is a special term here. It's not the BOPF business object what we did in the last course. This business object is something else. This business object is basically a different type of entity what you're creating. Basically, this will be done by marking one of the CDS view as a business object. Okay, one of the CDS view, you will mark it as a business object. That's what it you will be doing. So business object here is a node inside a tree data structure, okay, which can be marked by using root keyword at CDS view. Now this is needed only if we want to add transactional capability. Transactional capability means insert, update, delete. If you want to do insert, update, delete, only then you need business object. Otherwise, if you just creating a report application, list report application, you don't need business object. You only need business object when you want transactional capabilities. That is what is actually all about. The third important thing which we have is we need to then create in this architecture, we need to finally create a service using service definition and service binding. The binding will confirm the purpose of service, whether it is used as an API or it is used as a Fiori for the Fiori application. That's what the binding will confirm you at the end of the day. And then finally, you create your UI layer with the Fiori app using elements. This is the complete set of sequence in which you will create something called an end-to-end application using wrap. Now, if you talk about the wrap architecture in pictorial view, so in you just know that now these many things are there and you will be developing them. But what about the architecture side, how it looks like exactly, what all the layers, how can we perceive it, what in what sequence are we going to develop? So the sequence of development, or I would say the whole architecture, is presented using below block diagram. So let me write the block diagram. So you'll always start with something called the foundation of this will be data modeling layer. This will be the foundation, data modeling layer, and behavior. This will be the foundation. The second layer will be business service and provisioning. And the topmost layer is your service consumption and UI. So these are all the three layers in your architecture. This is what becomes restful ABAP programming model architecture. So just let me write like this. This is the flow of development. It's a bottom-up approach which we will be using for development. Now, what are all comes under data modeling layer? Let's talk about that. So under data modeling layer, You will have basically creating data models and business objects for transactional capabilities. So there are two types of broad data models. One is called business object. So in this, you will first do CDS data modeling. You will be creating your interface, composite, and consumption CTS views. In step 2, you will create BDEF. BDEF stands for behavior definition. Remember, behavior definition is optional, only applicable for scenarios where you want to do insert, update, delete. If you simply want to do a get application, a read report, you don't need to do behavior definition. Then comes is behavior implementation using ABAP programming language. And programming language which we will be using is ABAP. So this is the first part of the data modeling layer called business object layer, or CDS data modeling. The another option is directly you can use queries, which includes just the CDS data models. So in which case you will go with, let's say this box is blue, and in which case you will go with, in case of box is brownie. So you will go with case number 1 if you want to build DML application which can do insert, update, delete, transactional app. If you want to build transactional app, go with the left side part. If you just want to build a display like report which just display data to the user, search capability, sorting capability, you go with option number 2. In classical ABAP we used to create reports, the classical reports, ALV report, interactive report, right? So if those kind of use cases you have, you go with option number 2, only the queries using data model. In both cases you see data model is important using CDS, and that's why I did a refresher session for all of you for CDS views, because the data model, the base, the foundation of entire RAP programming model is the CDS view model. All right, that's step number 1. So right now we'll start with the RAP, and I will go with the track 2. This is the track 2 where I will just create a display like application to begin with. Later point of time we will convert that display like application to a transactional application using our RESTful ABAP programming model. Now above this layer you have something called projection layer. Okay, now suppose you build 20 CDS views. Okay, you build 20 CDS views, and it's a very complex architecture you have got. You've got different 20 CDS views which are built on top of, let's say, 100 database tables you joined, associated, and you build those 20 CDS views. But out of these 20 CDS views, you have, let's say, about each view has 10 fields. So you have about or 200 data fields, which you have got it now. So 20 CDS views each has 10 fields. So you've got 200 fields. Out of those 200 fields, I don't want to show all the fields to the front end to my UI layer. On the UI, I just want to show maybe only 5 fields. Okay, so just think about it. You have got CDS models. Okay, in CDS model, if you see, you have got 200 fields which you have created and exposed. About 200 fields now, out of which my UI just want 10 fields. I don't want all 200 fields. I want only 10 fields. So that's where the gap will be filled. So how do you convert these 200 fields to these 10 fields which you precisely need to the UI? You don't want to expose everything outside. You don't want to give everything outside. You just want 10 fields on the UI. You only want to expose 10 fields outside, right? Two reasons: one is security, another is performance. If you expose too much of data to the UI, the performance will go for a cost. That's the reason we also need another layer in the middle, which is projection layer. So you have to bypass yourself to the projection layer, and this projection layer will actually filter out what is not needed by the UI. Okay, what is not needed by the UI is filtering out here in the projection layer. The projection layer also has another very powerful feature. It is capable of achieving or we will typically use this to create annotations. We also put annotations as part of our projection layer. So this is another layer, business object projection. So you've created a whole bunch of services, CDS views. Now you have to create here CDS projection view. Basically, it's nothing but a consumption view. Ultimately, it's a consumption view which you are creating, my friends, in this layer. Okay. In this layer, you're creating consumption CDS view, which will be used for the final consumption. This includes annotations for the UI that will give command annotations for the user interface. For Fiori UX, we will add annotations in this particular view. Then we have also something called behavior projection and behavior implementation. Now you may say, Anubhav, why do we need behavior projection? Understand the behavior projection meaning. Suppose when you started building a project, you have a database table or couple of database table. You are supporting all operations. All operations means create, read, update, and delete. Okay. Now this is full-fledged application. You have supported all of them here in the behavior definition and implementation. Along with that, you have also implemented lot of other business logic. Now, do you want to provide all of this business logic to your UI? Do you want to always provide all the business logic access to the UI? Sometimes you want, sometimes you don't want. You have full-fledged application, sometimes you want. Suppose you can also do tomorrow two UI application. One UI application, the purpose is only display. Don't do any create, read, update, delete. Another UI application is only for the purpose of create, read, update, or create, update, and delete. Create, read, and delete. Yeah, CRD. So now these are two applications. So this application, the first one, should not access any chance, any way the application behaviors in terms of creation or updation or deletion. Never. This application should never access the update behavior of my application. But since it's implemented downstream, the downstream in the bottom layer, in the foundation layer, if you don't have the projection layer, system will have full access to all the functionality which you developed. You don't want that to happen. Sometimes you see there is an integration requirement and you want to give an API to somebody else for .NET consumption. In the .NET API which you're offering, you don't want to give access to, let's say, create, read, create, update, delete. You just want to give read access. So how do you restrict that access? And that's what exactly this projection layer will do. It is basically a projection out of what you have available full. So at the bottom layer you have full-fledged functionality. On top you can project what you like, what you want to expose. So this is why the projection layer is important. You don't want to give always all the time. So projection layer in other sense, if I talk about in layman terms, it is basically a scope. It is basically telling your scope. Okay, it is basically telling what is your scope of functionality you want to expose outside. It is definitely scope. So you may develop an application with different perspectives, different scopes. So reusing the same foundation layer, just add the projection to the full-fledged foundation layer. Suppose in finance or HR or SD, I build full-fledged functionality for sales order. Create sales order, delete sales order, add line item, delete line item, remove line item, add scheduling line item. I have built full-fledged functionality. Now I have a requirement to just display sales order. I don't want to expose all the functionality. My scope is only read. So I will only expose the read functionality using behavior projection. Okay, so that's my scope part here, which is basically extracting out what you really need, what is in your scope, extracting that out of the bottommost layer. Then finally on the topmost layer you will get okay, in this layer itself, along with this layer you will also get something like services for sure. Yes, exactly. So after this projection is complete, I'll just do like that. You will also have, you see, services of course as part of this layer. Yeah, so we'll have services as part of this layer. So you see business service and provisioning. So after the projection is complete, you will define on top of it services. So there are two parts. We already saw that in the last class. If you want to ever expose any OData service outside, there are two parts to it. One part is your service definition. Another part is your service uh, binding, and then you have your service binding. Okay, so these are the two layers which are part of the middle layer. So you will ultimately have got by now an OData service to be ready to use by the UI layer or the other consumers. Then on the front end side, I would have two consumers. Either it is a UI, Fiori UI, who will consume this whole set of services, or there is an external consumer via API. Somebody just want to use API for integration purpose. They want to insert data via sales order. In classical ABAP, we used to use BAPIs, correct? Look at the word is same. BAPI and this. They both are same words here. You see? BAPI. BAPI is also an API, and this is also an API. Business Application Programming Interface. BAPI is used to communicate to an SAP system and send a signal to SAP system to insert, read, update, delete data, right? Correct? That's what BAPI can be used. Same way this API here can be used to to talk to the service, and insert the data out there. Okay, that's what it can do. Superb. So now what we do next, let's go ahead and try to take a use case, and I will put as customer, I'll put as travel, just a travel agency, and then I'll also expose I underscore currency, expose I underscore country. This is all my expose. This is my service definition which I'm creating. Let me activate our service definition, and now we will create service binding. So service binding will decide the purpose. What is the purpose of creating this service? Is it for consumption by an external tool like Java and all, or is it for the Fiori UI? So our purpose this time is to create a Fiori UI. So we'll be creating a service binding with for Fiori UI. So I'm going to right click here on the service definition, and you can say new service binding. Just create new service binding. Let's give some name. We're following strict naming convention so that we can remember all our objects which we are creating. So service binding for unmanaged scenario travel. And now here you choose the purpose. You see the purpose. There are two purpose, either UI or web API. Let me take you at this moment to the back to PPT where I've discussed about wrap. And you see in the wrap, the topmost layer is either a UI or an external API. You see service consumption and UI layer. So here you can choose what you want actually. What is the purpose? Ultimate consumption for this service binding. You need to decide who's your consumer. Yeah, who's your consumer. So here is where in the service binding we are doing it. So by far we created this bottommost layer, our data models, travel, and sorry, we created the customer and agency. On top of it we created travel view, which is our projection layer, what we want to expose out. Then we created service definition. We are now creating binding will be for Fiori UI, and finally we'll see the Fiori app preview. So let's come here, choose OData v2 UI, say next, and now you will see the system will generate the necessary service binding here. System seems to be a little slow today. Okay, good to go. Finish. So now the good news is it will also generate for you a Fiori Elements app preview also. So you really don't have to go to web ID to experience how will the Fiori app ultimately will look like. System will generate here an out of the box Fiori app preview. Okay, that's what the system will be doing. So it reads the metadata automatically from the service which we are creating. Based on this metadata, system will automatically create a Fiori Elements app preview for us. So that you don't have to go to web id and you know create app from template. All that you don't have to do. System understand the metadata and it will generate automatically a Fiori app preview for testing purpose for you as a developer. Of course, when you want to ship, you have to ship a Fiori app creating in web id, which we will also learn it later point of time. But right now I will show you how the app preview will look like. We will keep changing our projection layer by adding enhancing UI annotations to this layer, and we will keep seeing the preview so that we will know what is the final outcome or final stage which we want to go ahead with. So let me just take a break here at this time for 5 minutes, and once I come back we will probably see this is taking too much of time to activate. Okay, so you see it will also take a little bit of time to now generate this endpoint. So let me hit this activate and take a break. So I'll just say activate, or even rather than taking a break, I will read out your questions in the chat window one by one and we'll answer that. So let it activate. I'll read out the questions from the chat window which you guys were asking before. So can we register these services in API Hub? No, Avinash, you cannot. API Hub is a central place for all the published services which are standard. Okay, which are standard. SAP is providing those services. Only those are registered on API Hub. We cannot register our custom service in the API Hub. That's not possible. We cannot do that. Second question. Thank you for the session. First question, as there is a limit of ABAP on cloud, client cannot manage only with ABAP on cloud system. He should maintain OP on premise. Is it true, right? No, if you just want to build a cloud native app, suppose I am a company who's running application, who's running travel business. I can develop my custom table. I can create my CDS view. I can create my OData service. I can create my Fiori UI. I can do everything end-to-end complete stack development in the ABAP on cloud like we are doing here. You see, we have a travel table. We create a data model. We're creating the projection layer. We're creating service definition, service binding. In next class, I'll show you behavior definition, behavior implementation. So basically end-to-end software stack can be developed over here. Yes, I understand limitation in terms of batch input, LSMW, GUI upload, download, screen programming. If those things your client is expecting, of course, then they have to go to S4HANA OP. But if they just want to develop a solution from scratch, the cloud ABAP on cloud is also a good approach to get started for your client. Okay, this is possible. The next thing is second question, what are all the ways to move the data from on-premise GUI to ABAP on cloud and vice versa? The ways to do that is using service calls. So in the normal ABAP system, you will have something called services, OData services. Using these OData services, you can move the data to the ABAP on cloud. We will take one scenario, Praveen, in our coming days where you will understand how to move the data from a normal on-premise or normal cloud system, S4HANA system to the ABAP on cloud system. We will take one scenario where I will show you those things. The next question is, if we have requirement to update sales order data from ABAP on cloud, can we update? Yes, of course, definitely. This is exactly cloud extension scenario, Praveen. We will be doing that as part of our course, but later point of time, not now. Okay, we will be doing this later point of time. So definitely I'll show you one scenario. Basically these two scenarios are basically interacting from ABAP on cloud to your S4 system. Okay, ABAP on cloud to S4 system, we will see that. So this is called side by side extension. So you are actually talking, this use case is comes under side by side extension scenario. That's what this use case is called. We will cover this for sure in our course. Debugging option, it's same. Just go to the class, set up a breakpoint, and just press F8. It will open the debugger in the ABAP development tool in Eclipse, and then you can debug just like we did it in ABAP on HANA course. Same way you can do it. There's no special thing required for debugging. You say SAP is releasing update every quarter. Will you also update us the new recordings? Please do it as we enroll. Sure, I will bring it on the YouTube. So you see there are a lot of new things which keeps coming. I will always update you guys about those things on the YouTube. So my YouTube channel is meant for that purpose only, to get you the latest and greatest update of whatsoever newly is coming. I will be always updating you guys on the YouTube. So if you go back to YouTube channel, you will see there, will update you all these things on the YouTube. So here in the videos, you will find all these videos. Anything, let's say for example, somebody was asking me the other day how to integrate this conversational SAP AI using Fiori app, the chatbot. We created these videos here on the YouTube. Okay, so this is something very, very advanced stuff using machine learning and conversational AI, creating this chatbot which automatically responds to the users. And then how do we develop such a chatbot with SAP's conversational AI product and then integrate with Fiori app? It's covered here, you see. Somebody was asking about CDS performance improvement. Anubhav, can you put some lights on how can we improve CDS performance? So I'm going to release soon videos about CDS performance, what annotations are there, and how can you define static dependencies for the CDS view database table, and how can you find out the dynamic dependencies at runtime, how the overall performance of a CDS view is judged. All that I will be releasing it on the YouTube. So if you have not subscribed on the YouTube channel, please do that and hit the bell icon so that you get notified with these killer videos which are coming only exclusively on YouTube. You see, somebody was asking Fiori app cross app navigation. It's already live. You can go ahead and check it, how to navigate from your custom app to another custom or standard Fiori app using cross app navigation feature in the Fiori. So a lot of these things are there. This channel was created only for that purpose, so that you get latest up to date information always in your inbox about something which newly comes. So please do subscribe this channel if you don't want to miss out on those updates. Is there any other way than OData service for Fiori UI and external API to access SAP system? There is no other way. Fiori can only and only talk to OData service. So there is no other way you can consume, you can talk to an SAP system. You have to use today an OData service. The another way is SOAP service, but in ABAP on cloud, SOAP services are not enabled. You cannot create them. But yes, in typical SAP GUI based ECC or S4 OP, you can create SOAP services and REST services. That's possible. But in ABAP on cloud context is the only OData is what they support. When you remember, when you're creating the service binding, there was only option to choose OData here. There was no option to choose SOAP in this action. Okay, so sixth question from Praveen. As of now, we are having just create, delete, update button, but in real time, we may need to add many other button. How can we achieve? Please allow me to continue, Praveen. When we continue, then only I can showcase you these things. I understand your curiosity, but at times you need to wait for the right time to come. I will show you how can you add multiple different types of action buttons also as part of the logic. We will see that. So can we use expose services in the cloud workflow? Yes, of course, you can use them in the cloud workflow, but I've never tried. And of course, maybe this is one use case I will not be able to show to you, but I'm sure as long as it's a cloud enabled service, you can use it anywhere. If you can use even by an external app, why can't you use it in cloud workflow? Definitely you can use in cloud workflow. There's no doubt about it. Okay, but you need to try this out. Now, some people saying, what is cloud workflow? Please check my YouTube video on SAP cloud workflow. If you want to understand what is SAP, what is cloud workflow, please go and check this video, SAP workflow using WebID full stack cloud workflow integration. So you must have to check that video, guys. Okay, so very interesting video which I've created on cloud workflow. So please do watch this video, how to do business process management and workflow management with SAP cloud platform with WebID full stack. Please do check this video. Now, is there any other way? OData service and Fury. Okay, same question. Other than OData, there's no option today. For now, we only have OData option to expose the data out. Awesome. Let's come back then. So now I think things are settled. So we are active. Oops, still not showing active. Let me just click again activate my local service endpoint. So this is required for you to test it locally from your computer to that Fiori app preview, or to that OData service API which you're creating. So you always have to press this active local service endpoint button, or this activate button out here, which will then activate an endpoint for you, which can create a response for you on the request which you will make to this service, or this Fiori element. So let it activate. Will take a little bit of time, provided even the system is also slow, it may take more time today. So now finally you will see those entity sets which we defined in the service definition will be actually exposed here. So you'll see all those service definition here will be appearing. So we define currency, country, agency, customer, and travel. So five different entities we have defined. The travel is the main exposed entity, that's your projection layer, and that has inside the agency and customers, and the customer and agency inside have the country. Yeah, so these are all the things we have it right now. So we will see them as exposed entity set as part of the OData API, and we will immediately be able to also experience a preview, a preview of the user interface. How will the ultimate Fiori UI will look like when you develop it with the web ID. So we will not develop it with web ID right now. We'll just look at the preview. We will make our changes, make it fully ready, and then finally we will go there. Okay, so in the next subsequent section I will create the user interface, the columns, and the tables. So let's understand the Fiori elements quickly. So if you want to develop a Fiori app, there are two parts to it. We will be developing a list report. So this is how a list report typically looks like. So you have, it's a two-page application. The first page of the application contains something called a smart filter bar, which includes your fields for selection, and then you will have something called smart filter table, which displays your columns. There will be a go button. You will press the go button. So from user point of view I'm showing you. So when user clicks on go button, whatever data you entered in the search criteria, according to that, system will fire a query, automatically fetches the data from database, and will show you in the smart filter table. Every smart filter table record, it will display you records in a table. You can do sorting, searching, and filtering by default. And now you will also have a navigation button like this. So when you click on this navigation button, what system will do, it will take you to the next screen. Okay, it will take you here to the next screen. Now in this next screen, this screen is called object page. What is this screen called? This screen is called object page. In this screen you will have different tabs on object page. Possibly you may have multiple tabs, tab 1, tab 2, like tab strip control. So you'll have multiple tabs in this. So you'll have multiple tabs here. So by default, the first tab gets created with the same name as entity, and then you will see the details of selected line item. So you selected only one item at a time, and it will show you the details of selected line item on the next screen on the object page here. So this is your sequence of execution of such an application. Smart filter bar, smart filter table, go button, click on it, takes you to the next screen, and this is where you see the details. Are you clear how a Fiori list report app looks like, how it functions? I'm sure you would have seen it in multiple times in multiple demos. We had built it also from scratch in our ABAP Nano training, but just a quick recap of how it looks like. What is an object page? This is an object page. What is a smart filter bar? This is a sequence of fields which you want to search. What is a smart filter table? It is the result table which shows you all the result data. So this is the complete architecture of your system. Let's go back. Oh my God, this is not activating. I just again try it out. It's taking, first of all, too much of time, and then it's not even activating. So let's try. It reads the metadata of my CDS, and you see it gets me these fields which I can choose from. Yeah, I can choose these fields, and I say okay, and you see these fields have come now. I can also choose adapt filter. I can go to the filter, and I can also choose the travel ID, customer ID, agency ID. Okay, go, and you see these three filter condition also comes up for us. Now just hit the go button, and it will right now, since I'm not passing any filter criteria, it will fetch me all the records from the database table. So remember, these are tables, data model tables, which we are using out of the box from SAP system. It also has lots of demo data. System will automatically load the demo data for us in this box. And wow, there you go, you can see all the demo data is now displayed here in form of a Fiori application, a list preview. Now probably I will pass an agency ID to filter out. So I'll just pass an agency ID 70046. Show me all the bookings, sorry, show me all the travels which are planned by this agency. Click on go button, and you would see now this will do the filtering nicely for us. That's all automatic. We didn't write any ABAP code to say select star from table where, dynamic where clause, nothing. It's all automatic. That's the power of CDS. So you see here, we have got all the agency data now. It's getting displayed. I choose one record. It drills down me to this page. It's called object page. Right now, this object page is completely empty. Yeah, we will be filling this object page soon. So this is about creating the very basic, simple wrap, following the wrap, creating our first Fiori element application. In the next section, we will go ahead and put annotations. So when you refresh this UI again, this will go blank actually. You will not get those fields, you will not get those columns. So how do you present to the user a default structure of the app, which comes with columns, which comes with some filter criteria? How do you present? You see it's called gone. So how do we persist and make sure that every time I open, I always get those certain number of fields and certain number of columns in my table? Of course, user can personalize, but I want to make sure at least I present something basic to the user. And that's what exactly using the annotations we will be achieving. Time for the for close of the today's class. In the next class, we will be doing this, guys. Okay, we'll be putting these annotations, and we will be creating first our display like app, and then we will be using unmanaged scenario to create our transactional capabilities to add, insert, update, delete data. So end-to-end application completely natively in the cloud, we will be able to build it. That's the first biggest use case of ABAP on cloud. Some of you in the first session were asking, where do we use it? So many restrictions, where do we use it? So don't compare it with your classical ABAP. Don't compare that. Just see what you have. You can build an end-to-end application here in the cloud native application using ABAP programming and CDS data model, using RESTful ABAP programming model. Time for your questions before we close today's class. Anybody?
Hello, Anubhav. There is one question I have from whatever we discussed yesterday. So you said that, like, say, ABAP on cloud and S4HANA cloud go hand in hand, right? They go together. Hello?
It's not a golden rule that they both go hand in hand. It
Uh-huh.
depends on what your company is buying. I've seen some places they have S4 on premise, and they are also going with ABAP on cloud.
Yeah.
So this is not
So,
a
like, say,
golden. Yes, yes.
so if somebody has, say, like a S4HANA cloud and they also want to go for an ABAP on cloud, now they would need to purchase the subscriptions for both, like, say, the cloud subscription and on the ABAP on cloud subscription, right? So both the subscriptions they'll have to purchase.
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay, so do you think, like, say, the company would be willing to do that? Because yesterday, as you mentioned, the ABAP on cloud subscription is pretty expensive.
Companies will do it. We at individual level probably won't do. It's too expensive for us. But big giant corporates like these Walmart, Colgate, HUL, ONGC, right? These companies, they have, you know, huge money. We may think, okay, it's very expensive, but for them, they are pennies. What I just showed you, they are pennies actually for them, right? So companies would, they don't mind doing that. In fact, I've seen almost every company these days buying SAP Cloud Platform subscription because they want to run their company in innovation mode. They want to utilize faster, adapt to faster innovation. You remember our demo session where we talked about bimodal IT. So that's what companies are doing actually, and this is where SAP Cloud Platform helps them. I think I've not explained bimodal IT in this demo session of ABAP on Cloud, but it's explained in my video on SAP Cloud Platform actually. So just check SAP Cloud Platform video. There you will find bimodal IT, where I've explained what is the essence of SAP Cloud Platform actually. So let me just give you this video. Please watch this video. Your doubts will be clear. Why SAP Cloud Platform and what to learn and how to learn SAP Cloud Platform.
But Anubhav, one more thing is if you say if it can go with an on-premise system also, say a customer can do much more with an on-premise system, right? Do they really want to go for an ABAP on cloud if they have an on-premise system also?
It depends. Suppose you have an own premise system and you want to also build a side-by-side extension only in SAP Cloud Platform using ABAP. What will you do? See, big companies have so many requirements, not just like, so we are just a working with a small team inside a small unit of a big organization. You never know your organization, how big it is, and what kind of use cases they have, right? There may be so many use cases which you never ever imagine. Many times I go to some company and I see, oh wow, this I never thought of. This could be also a use case, and then I realized what can best fit into this synergy. So if this is the use case, what can I apply here? So they call me for for the recommendations. So I go there as an architect, and then they ask me, Anubhav, we have this unit working here with this scenario, with this synergy. What do you propose? Where do we implement this particular use case? Do you recommend S4 OP, S4 cloud, native cloud, HANA cloud, HANA native, or you want ABAP on cloud? What do you think, Anubhav? What is your recommendation? So there are different use cases. It depends on use case to use case. In our use case, we have think about the company or a partner company of SAP. Forget about client, direct client, partner company of SAP. They want to build a solution, a native cloud solution, and deliver to their customers. How do they do that? They don't want to buy S4 cloud. They don't want to buy S4 OP. They just want to build a native cloud solution. They only have a web developers in the team. How will the partner company build a new solution and deliver to the client? Don't have a choice. ABAP on cloud is the only option, right? So in cases where your company even have OP, even have cloud, all cases it is possible to use ABAP on cloud. Yet it depends what best fit for you. Because as you mentioned, in OP we can do almost everything. Yes, of course you can do everything. Then go ahead with OP. There is no use of ABAP on cloud for you at all. Now, in this case, this course will help you to just understand RESTful ABAP programming model, because now with 1909 S4 OP, the RESTful ABAP programming model is also available for on-premise. You can build it similarly in on-premise also, the RESTful ABAP programming model. So in this course, don't use ABAP on cloud, but use the technique which you are learning. You learn this architecture which we are teaching here. So this architecture is then important for you actually. So this architecture which we started today is more important in the context of ABAP on cloud. Okay. So environment doesn't matter. What you're learning in this course is this architecture. This architecture still applies to OP also. You can go to S4HANA OP system and build also service definition, service binding, behavior definition, behavior implementation. You can do that. Yeah. This is exactly what you can also do it. Mhm. So you can also do that. Okay, there's a question. As part of current implementation, need to write the code for edit update. Can not wait for next week, which need to talk tomorrow. Please help me on a document. Okay, Praveen, just drop an email. I will send you one tutorial which you can use to also generate the create, read, update, delete using managed scenario. I will give you some document. Okay. I'll give you that. Actually, I don't need to give you. Let me tell you right away where it is. Go back to our cloud platform subscription, our ABAP trial subscription. So for all of you, it will be helpful. You can, so how I am learning, guys. I'm not an God gifted person. I don't have, some prophecy happening which is teaching me. I'm also learning from internet. So I'll just show you the documentation where I'm learning from. You can of course go and learn from there also directly. So go back and go to the spaces, dev space. So this is where I'm learning. I'll just show you where I'm learning from. And all my scenarios are also inspired by that only. So go inside. Okay, I'm sorry. Go back to the tile and you see here documentation. Just click on that. And now here you will find complete RESTful ABAP programming model documentation. Okay, so just come down. So you see ABAP Cloud Platform trial user, console application, learning journey, product page, solution overview, and you see learning journey. Okay, and development. You see development, develop using Cloud Foundry, ABAP environment. Okay, ABAP RESTful programming model. And you see the definition which I gave you today, it's all from here. So ABAP RESTful API defines an architecture for efficient end-to-end development of intrinsically SAP HANA optimized OData service such as Fiori apps and ABAP environment. See, same definition I gave you today. Same ditto definition I copied from there I gave you today. I'm also learning from here. You see the architecture which I taught you. Data modeling, service provisioning, service consumption. You see business objects, queries. Business object projection, service definition, service implementation, Fiori UI, web API. This is exactly what I showed you today in my PPT. I'm also learning from here. Yeah. Now you will see here something called consumption of reuse service, setup destination, all these things. Let me show you some scenario where you can just go ahead and complete your work at least. So change document on see integrating with OP system. Somebody was asking about integrating with OP system. This is where you see we will cover this scenario also. I'm reading this documentation daily and I'm bringing these possibilities to you. I know it's possible to integrate, so I'll bring you these things. You see how they're integrating to the OP system. See, we'll cover this scenario. Don't worry, this is part of the training. Of course you cannot understand this, fine, you are anyway part of the training, so you learn that. So don't worry about that, we'll cover that. But now coming to your question, how do we build? So let me just go back. So SAP is also providing something called learning journey. Okay, in the learning journey you can see that development user guide, and you see CDS guide, ABAP development user guide, RESTful programming guide, and now you see building unmanaged transactional based app with existing application logic. You see, so click on this one and now it takes you to the specific documentation for creating unmanaged application. So all this is free document available by SAP. Absolutely free. You see now here, this section they will show you the main development required for transactional processing using business object provider integrates existing business logic. So here you see they are showing you, explaining you step by step tutorials, and they're also using this data model DMO. See, reserved namespace, flight scenario. They will show you. See here these tutorials providing CDS object, defining business object, defining UI. In all of this you'll find the code then. Okay, you can also expand this and see the code. I'll give you this direct link in the chat window also, and I'll put it in the PPT also for documentation of RESTful ABAP programming model. So I'm also learning from here, guys. I'm not getting a special training from somebody else. I'm breaking my head day and night and spending hours and hours of practice and time to build these exercises and learning these things. Yes, possibly we'll cover ABAP on Git. Right now there's a problem going on with ABAP on Git, but possibly I will cover that. By the end we will complete this course. I will definitely touch upon ABAP on Git. Okay, so I'm also learning from here. You can save a lot of money. You don't need to pay me for training. You can learn yourself by reading these documents. It's just that I read all the document from all the places, combine that together, bring it up in a synchronous way and present it at front of you. That's all. That's all I'm doing. Okay, no Jenkins integration I will not be able to cover here in this course. I will not be able to cover that in this course actually. Okay, so now coming here, so let me put the documentation link also here.
So complete documentation link.
Just put that. This PPT you can download right after the class, and after about 4 hours, the video will also be available in the training blog. With that, Anubhav signing out. Thank you so much. See you next weekend. Have a nice day and goodbye.